Yo, what's up, everybody? All you Chiefs fans out there, thanks for tuning in to the Baker's Do Chiefs podcast. I am Brandon Baker, always along with my co-host Noah. What's up, man?
Not much. I'm ready to talk about the 2020 season.
Yes, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna break this up in two parts. We're gonna talk tonight up into the bye, and then we'll have episode 2 for this part will be from the bye into the playoffs, which obviously we don't know how the playoffs are gonna go yet, other than the fact that the Chiefs will be in it. That's common knowledge. But we'll get right into it, guys. First game of the season, we get to play who we played in the AFC Championship last season. We got the Texans. Noah, what are your thoughts on the game?
Houston, it's going to be a big game for us because we are playing opening night, and it's going to be a Thursday night primetime game. So that, puts a lot more heat on the game. It's the only game, whenever you have teams that are playing on Sunday, there's 8, 9 other games going on that day. And so, not the whole world's watching them, but opening night of football on a Thursday night, you're going to have, all football fans are tuning into that game to watch the first game. And, based off of the playoff game, I think that there's going to be a little bit extra people tuning in to watch that game because it's going to, they're expecting some fireworks from what we've seen in the postseason, but it's going to be an interesting game. I know that Houston got rid of DeAndre Hopkins, so that's a move that, it's good on our part because our cornerback situation is going to be still probably pretty iffy going into week 1, and so having those guys not have to worry about DeAndre Hopkins it's going to help a lot and take some pressure off of them. So I think it's going to be a good game, though. 2 of the best young quarterbacks in the league in Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. I'm interested to see how that game plays out. We know that Houston, they want to get back at us because we just completely dominated them in that postseason game, and it made them look like little boys playing out there. So they have a lot that they want to prove, that they can beat the best team in NFL history. I'll say it. So it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, they really thought that they had us in that game, and honestly, some of us thought that they had us as well. So I'm looking forward to that too. Also, I mean, it's the first game of the regular season. Thursday night football prime time, big game. Plus, Chiefs will be getting their rings after 50 years, so that's big too.
Right.
I wish I could be there for that.
Oh gosh, I do too. And that's a big thing where leadership's going to come in because that's going to be a huge night for those guys, getting their rings. And so, I believe Patrick Mahomes is going to be the guy that steps up and tells them to keep their minds in the game. But they're going to need some leadership going into that game. Making sure that they focus on the game because that's what matters, not the ring ceremony. So. It's going to be a distraction. That's one thing that I'm not a fan about, them doing that before a football game because it is going to be a distraction, but it's going to be a good game. And I think that it's going to come down to the two offense versus offense. Whoever puts up the most points wins. I don't think that defense is going to play a huge role in that game, personally, but that's just my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think our defense is going to be much improved this year. But yeah, I kind of think this is going to be a real big offensive game. If we take a look at the last time we played them in the AFC Championship game, Deshaun Watson had 388 yards, 2 touchdowns. Good old Patty Cakes had 321 yards and 5 touchdowns, as we absolutely just slaughtered them and just ran away with it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It should be a good game.
It will be a good game, and I think, we should come out of here with a win. Looking at the schedule, there's not a whole bunch of games that we should lose. But I do think this is a game that we come out with a win.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and chalk game one out to a W for the Chiefs. So, with that being
Yep.
said, we'll move on to game number two, which is against the Chargers in Los Angeles. Um, should be a good game. Last time we played them was in December of last year, I believe. That was a home game.
Yes,
I think it
I
was a home
believe
game.
so.
Yeah, that was a great game. Uh, in that game, Philip Rivers threw for 281 yards, two touchdowns. Pat had 174 yards and one touchdown. So not a huge game for him.
Yeah, I will say this. We obviously played the Chargers twice last season because they are in our division. But after the Mexico game, when we played Los Angeles, I think that was a turning point for our defense. I hear people saying that it was after the Tennessee game. They think that's when our
I say
defense
it was
turned things
Denver.
around. Denver, you say it was there. See, I think our turning point was that Chargers game in Mexico right before the bye week. In my opinion, that's when our defense stepped it up that game.
In
I
Mexico?
mean, our defense is
Yeah.
one reason
Yeah.
we won the game. And so, personally, I believe that was our turning point defensively. Either way, we beat them both times last year. They lost Philip Rivers, like you said. I mean, they're not a scary team. I don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be. I've heard that
They got
what's his
Tyrod
name,
Taylor?
Teddy Bridgewater, Tyrod Taylor. That's who it is. I
Yeah.
heard that he is projected to be their starter. He doesn't scare me
Nah.
at all. So,
Nah.
this is another game we should come out on a win, go 2-0 right here.
Well, let me ask you this. Towards the end, Philip was throwing picks constantly, it seemed like. He just wasn't the same Philip Rivers. Now, I will give it to. I will say that a lot of it was the offensive line. He's had a lot of struggles with that. Do you think them having a new quarterback will actually push them a little further up?
Mm. I don't personally, because Philip Rivers, he wasn't. He just didn't have the leadership mentality that we see a lot of even younger players than him have a better leadership mentality than he does. But I just leadership at the quarterback position is huge, and you didn't really see that in him. He wasn't. He just wasn't a scary quarterback. Like you said, he was throwing picks towards the end of the season, and with the new quarterback, I don't see them being any scarier than they were last year personally.
Yeah, I can agree with that, man. I'm looking forward to that game. I always will give the win to the Chiefs when it goes to playing the Chargers. So I'm going with game number two being a win for the Chiefs as well.
Yeah, I think. I mean, like I said, I think as we go through this, there's going to be a lot of games and it's not because we're biased. I mean, I'm going solely off of what we saw last season and the moves that these teams are making in free agency.
Yeah, I agree, man. With that being said, we'll move on to the next game. This will be a fun one in Baltimore. Game three will be Chiefs versus the Ravens. Should be a great game. You got probably the two best quarterbacks in the league right now, facing off against each other. I feel like, Lamar Jackson's kryptonite. So, I mean, I don't think he's not beat us. Lamar Jackson has not beat the Chiefs since he's been in the league. So, I really feel like this will be another W for us as well. They are probably scarier, obviously, than the Texans and the Chargers, but
Mm-hmm.
um, we're Lamar Jackson's kryptonite. I don't know. I feel like he may never beat Patrick Mahomes. We'll see. um,
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. We played them. They set it up again, so we played them week 3 last year, and it's week 3 this year. This time it's at Baltimore. We're going to have to shut down Lamar Jackson,
yeah,
and I will say this: Mark Ingram, we're going to have to shut him down
Yeah,
because that was our problem last time we played them. We still beat them, but Mark Ingram's rushed for over 100 yards, I believe. And, I mean, our defense was pitiful that game. It's a wonder we even won that game. And I know that as I've, talked about, um, as I've talked about that game, there was a lot of people saying that Baltimore, they weren't the same team in week 3 that they ended up being, and I agree with that. Baltimore
yeah,
got better,
definitely.
but obviously we did too, and that's not a really valid argument against that. Yeah, Baltimore was still kind of figuring things out as a team, getting in a role, but I mean we still beat them. They still had Lamar Jackson, who I mean he's incredible. He's highlight reel in every single game. And so it really comes down to shutting that down. They like to run a lot of read option, having a mobile quarterback like that. So if we could shut down Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram, I'm not too worried about that game.
Yeah, and we talked about, or you mentioned the fact that after week um, 3, towards the end of the season, they were obviously a different team. Well, so were we, and
Right.
we're gonna be our defense is gonna be a lot different team this season. So I think we're gonna be able to shut them down even more than we were able to last season, which obviously we didn't
Yeah.
because you already said what he ran for. So I mean, but I really do. I think this is going to be a lot different this season.
I think it
Um,
will too.
in that game, Lamar Jackson threw for 267 yards, 0 touchdowns. Patty threw for 374 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like I said, man, he's Lamar's kryptonite, and I'm
He
just
is. Yeah.
chalking that game up to another win as well.
I am too, man. And what it comes down to, like I said, is stuff in the run game. Lamar Jackson, he's been thrown under the bus for being a mobile quarterback for a very long time. People saying that he's a running back, he's not a quarterback, blah blah blah. And you just named the stats off. He didn't have a passing touchdown in that game. I don't know how many passing touchdowns he threw for in the regular season. I'd have to look that up. But I mean, he's just not the passing quarterback that you know that can beat us, and so they're going to have to be able to throw as well as run because you have to think we got our new linebacker Willie Gay, and if they end up putting him at the middle linebacker at all, even that outside linebacker, he's the key in a read option, and so whatever he does is based off of the offense. And so, I mean, we're going to have to shut down the run, that read option, triple option, any options that they'd run, and then obviously the passing game, which I'm really not too worried about.
Real quick, do you want to just make a guess at how many yards he threw for last season?
Lamar Jackson,
Yeah.
I'd probably 3,000.
Yeah, just over 3,000, 31.27.
And how many touchdowns did he have? Passing touchdowns.
Mm, not sure exactly, but it couldn't have been, I'd say, more than 20.
Yeah, he had 36 touchdowns last season, as well as the 3,000 passing yards.
Dang, okay. So yeah, I mean, he is a threat, but he's not what I'm concerned about, to be completely honest.
No, he's not.
All right. With that being said, guys, we'll move on to the next game, which is um, Chiefs versus Patriots at Arrowhead. Are we afraid of New England anymore?
No, we're not. And honestly, I've never been afraid of New England. Except I know that they had a good team, but I really had not been afraid of them. I've always going into playing New England every single game. I've had confidence that we could beat them because I've strongly believed that, and that we are. I mean, going back to the 2018 AFC Championship game, after that game especially, I wasn't scared of them because we. I mean, it was. If it wasn't for D Ford, we would have been going to the Super Bowl and beating the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I've never never really been scared of the Patriots. I will say this: playoff Patriots. I've been a little nervous going into the games, just because we've had a bad history with them in the playoffs. But after the 2018 championship game, you know, any doubts that I had were gone after that game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to see how Belichick is without Brady. Um, I I'm just not really that scared of them. I mean, their defense will still probably be pretty good, but offensively, they're rebuilding. So I'm not really too afraid of them. Last time we played them, we won 23-16. Um, this is a weird comparison. You would think almost these numbers would be flipped, but Patrick Mahomes threw for 283 yards with one touchdown, and Tom Brady had 169 yards and one touchdown.
Hmm.
It's just kind of weird to say that Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, greatest football player on earth, but it's Tom Brady. So to see those numbers, that's just kind of funny. But yeah, I'm honestly gonna say that's another win for me. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I mean, I strongly agree. The reason we lose that game is because we beat ourselves.
Yeah,
New England doesn't beat us. Period.
I believe you, man. There's honestly not much left to say about that game. So
Mm-mm.
we'll move on to the next game, which will be Raiders versus Chiefs at Arrowhead. Another game I'm just calling the win. I
Um,
just am. I mean, I'm not scared of our division. I feel like if there's two teams that I think are kind of on the rise, probably, and that would be Las Vegas and Denver. Depending on how Drew Lock um, plays this season. I think those are the two teams that could be on the rise. Las Vegas got a couple of new, young, fresh talent, so that should be a good game, though.
yeah, Kansas City, Las Vegas now, not Oakland, which is weird. But we have a, I'm really hoping we have a full team playing them because last year we played them week one, week two, pardon me, and I mean, Demarcus Robinson was the guy that stepped up and made plays, and then we obviously played them later in the season and completely annihilated them,
Yeah, 40 to
which
9.
was just a pleasure to watch. It was, I mean, dude, our defense, I'll say it, that our defense just got so much better, moving up to that game, and that game was our defense was completely phenomenal. And so this Las Vegas game, I'm going to say that we're walking out with the win.
Yeah,
Um, it's going to be, I think it'll be a good game, but I think that we're coming out with the win.
yeah. There's not a team that I love watching lose more than the Raiders. So
Hmm.
I am pumped. Couple little quarterback stats from that game. Good old Derek Carr threw for 222 yards with one touchdown. Patty Cakes, not as good, 175 with one touchdown. So that was definitely not a Patrick Mahomes game, but a team game.
Oh yeah, it was a huge team game. Like I was saying, our defense is what our defense was. I'll say it. I believe that our defense was the reason we won that game, because Patrick Mahomes didn't really contribute. I mean, obviously our defense only held them to 9 points, so that has a lot to do with it. But our offense wasn't as electric in that game as you know they usually are.
Yep, I agree, man. I'm definitely calling that game a win though. So we'll move on to the next one. We got Kansas City versus Buffalo in Buffalo. When's the last time we played Buffalo? Was that like 2017?
I think so. 3 years ago, 4 years
Golly,
ago.
yeah, they beat us 16 to 10. Um, let's see. The quarterback was Tyrod Taylor, which who is their quarterback now?
Okay, well, this is something that's very interesting to me. They had Josh Allen, who um,
They got Jake Fromm now, don't they, from
they
Georgia?
do, and that's what I was about to say. I really thought that Josh Allen was going to be their franchise quarterback. I thought he was the guy they were going to build around. He led them to the playoffs last year. He did not play good in the playoffs, and I think that has a lot to do with why they drafted this new quarterback because
Do
he
you
just did not.
do you know much about Jake Fromm?
I watched a little bit of him. Um,
See,
I mean, he's a good quarterback. He's a solid quarterback. He came from Georgia, um, but it still surprises me that they drafted him because, like I said, I was under the impression that they were going to build around Josh Allen.
yeah, I was too, honestly. Now it's kind of funny because Jake Fromm's a really smart quarterback. So they do have someone good to lean on if that's the case. So I'll be curious to see who ends up honestly starting. To be honest, because Fromm's actually pretty good.
He's real good. I mean, he was a junior whenever he got drafted. He played in 2017, 2018, 2019, and he threw for 78 touchdowns and 8,236 yards in those 3 seasons. And if you look at the interceptions, he only threw 7 in 2017, 6 in 2018, and only 5 in 2019. So I mean, he got better each year. Each year, his numbers went up. Except for his touchdowns in 2019, it went back to 24 after a 30 touchdown season in 2018. But he's a smart quarterback, and if you look at those interceptions, he did not throw very many.
I
And
will
so
tell you.
obviously the
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say obviously the NFL is completely different than college football, but still he's a smart quarterback, and he's able to make plays.
I will say I think that this will probably be our biggest. Mm, one of our biggest quarter, or I mean, our one of our biggest challenges off the gate for our or our cornerbacks because they did pick up Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal receiver, and he's got height and he's got speed, and you know, I mean, that's what you need in a receiver. And so our cornerbacks are going to have to learn how to shut him down. They're going to have to, and I think, hopefully by this time in the season, our defense will start to be, because we did add some new additions, and hopefully if those additions are starting, hopefully they're going to start meshing and getting together by that time of the season, because they'll definitely need to. But they have Stephon Diggs. The
Hmm.
quarterback situation is going to be, who I don't know who's going to be playing starting at that time. If it's going to be Jake Fromm or Josh Allen, but you got to have a quarterback that can throw the ball at a high level. Otherwise, your receivers are useless. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Honestly, this will probably be our first like big test. I think honestly even more than Baltimore.
Baltimore, I
So
agree.
that should be a good game. So I don't know. That's a toss up on who I'd pick for that game. To be completely honest.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. I give it to the Chiefs because, in my opinion, the Bills are still going to be figuring themselves out.
Yeah, we're gonna be playing
So
with more experience as
right,
a full team
right,
because we're
and I think.
losing what two? We're gonna be with two less starters this season than we were last year.
Mhm. Yeah, and I will say this: that's Baltimore's got some experience
Yeah,
as a team. This is Lamar Jackson's third year, and so I mean, they're start. They got some chemistry going, and I think that's the one thing they have going for them is they've got that team chemistry. So that's the one thing that will make our game a little more even.
yeah, that'll be fun, and we'll move on to the next one, which will be at Mile High against Denver. I'm always looking forward to Denver games for some reason. I like playing them. We'll beat them, but I do enjoy playing Denver for some reason, and I'm really excited to see like the young quarterbacks playing each other. I'm excited to see Mahomes versus Drew Lock. Drew Lock, I think, has got potential to be a really good quarterback, so we'll see how that goes. Last time they played, Drew threw for 280 yards, 208 yards, 0 touchdowns. Patty Cakes threw for 340 yards with 2 touchdowns. So that should be a fun game. We beat them last time 23-3. For me, that was the turning point for our defense. Um, what do you think, man?
Our defense really stepped it up in that game. Um, I've not looked up how many sacks we had. I forget, but we had a lot of sacks that game. And the quarterback situation it was different. They were playing Joe Flacco at that time. Um, but this game, I sound biased as we go through here because I've got them undefeated right now. But I'm going to give them another win against Denver because the experience is another big thing. They are a fairly young team, and they're still going to be, gathering a lot of chemistry, and so that's why I think that we're gonna come out with the win because we have experience. We've got the team chemistry. Obviously, Denver's defense is, they're pretty stout, but our offense is better.
Yeah. Uh, I'm always pulling. Now that they don't have Peyton Manning, I'm always pulling for the Chiefs as a win over the Broncos.
Oh yeah, I am as well.
All right. Well, I think we're going to move on from that one, and with that, we'll move on to the Jets versus the Chiefs in Arrowhead. We have not played them, just like the Bills, since 2017, so that should be a good game.
Yeah, it'll be a good game. I'm not I really don't know a whole lot about the Jets,
I don't either.
and I haven't watched a whole lot of their highlights from last year. I know that they got Sam Darnold at quarterback. Not scary. Um, I do indeed believe that Le'Veon Bell is still with the Jets.
Yeah, they got
Has he
Le'Veon
signed?
Bell and Frank Gore.
Okay, yeah. Well, Sam Darnold just doesn't scare me. Le'Veon Bell, yeah, he's a little scary, but our defense, I think by this time in the season, definitely they're gonna they're gonna have things taken care of. They do have a pretty stout defense. They have C.J. Mosley um, at linebacker. They have Jamal Adams, who's one of the best safeties in the NFL. Um, and then they have Quentin Williams at defensive end. So I mean, they've got some talent on the defensive end, and I think that's what it's going to come down to is if their defense can hold us, because I mean, everyone knows how our offense is, and I think that if their defense is able to stop us, and we should walk out of there with a win. But I do think it's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. That's another one that's hard for me to pick on, just because we haven't played this since 2017, and both teams are completely different from then. So
Hmm.
it should be a fun game. I'm gonna go with pull for the Chiefs on that game.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a good game. I will say that. I never really thought I'd say that, but against the New York Jets,
Yeah,
but I do think it's gonna be a good game. Looking at their defensive rotation and then their offense, they don't have a terrible offense. They have Ryan Griffin at tight end, who is a very good tight end, and then they have Jamison Crowder at wide receiver, Brashad Perryman, um, who's not all that, and then they have Denzel Mims. So I mean, it's going to be a good game. I'll go ahead and say the Chiefs are going to win, but I do think that it will be close.
yeah, yeah. I agree, man. So with that, we'll move on to the last game before the bye week, which is the Carolina Panthers versus the Chiefs at Arrowhead. We have not played them since 2016, so both these teams are completely different. Um, should be a good game as well, just because when you play in these teams that you haven't played in a long time, obviously there's tape, but actually playing them is a lot different. So I'm always looking forward to these games like this.
Yep. We shut down the run and we're okay. Teddy Bridgewater is a all right quarterback, but Christian McCaffrey is the guy on that team,
Yep.
and he is. He's one of the best running backs that the NFL has seen in a long time. They got Robbie Anderson, who's an okay receiver, but going through their depth chart, they're just not scary.
Mm-mm.
Defensively, K1 Short, he's a defensive tackle. He's a good tackle. I think, and then they have Trey Boston at free safety, which I think personally, those two and then Tahir Whitehead are probably the biggest threats on their defense, and he's a middle linebacker. But I mean, other than that, they don't have a real scary team. And once again, I sound biased, but I have them going undefeated up to the bye week, and I really think that they're capable of going undefeated up to the bye week, and I think they walk out of the Carolina game with a win as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm gonna say that that should be a win. Like I said, I do like seeing these games where they haven't played in a long time. Obviously, last time they played, it was Alex Smith versus Cam Newton, so big difference there as well. I'm gonna go with probably either a loss to the Jets or the Bills, with them going. Mm, what was that? Eight and 1, 8-1 going into the bye week.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you said, very
And
capable to go 9-0 up to the bye week.
oh yeah, and I do think that Baltimore, the Buffalo, and possibly the New York game are going to be the toughest ones for us. Um, and I mean the Buffalo game, it's still iffy. I have a hard time, um, saying who I think. I do think the Chiefs will win just because of experience and the Bills still trying to figure things out, but it could end up being a good game. And other than that, I mean, our division, we should be able to beat every team in our division again. We should
Yeah,
be division champs again.
yeah, and a lot of these games are kind of rebuilding. You know, the Chargers without Philip Rivers, Patriots without Brady. The Raiders are a lot of it's still the same, but they're still growing. Denver growing with Drew Lock. So I mean, the Panthers with Bridgewater now. So a lot of differences in a lot of these teams when we've pretty much stayed solid. Like I said, I think we're too short from last year's
Mhm.
starters. So I mean, we're right there where we were last season, and I don't see any reason why we're not going to run it back for another Super Bowl.
I don't either. I will say this: our schedule starts getting a little tough after the bye. We have a couple teams, and we'll be able to talk about this in the next episode. But Tampa Bay,
Hmm.
they've got a good team. They have got a good team. So Tampa Bay, New Orleans, and possibly even Atlanta could be threats. Those are three games that I'm a little bit nervous about. But we'll talk about those in the next episode. But after the bye week is when things start to get a little ramped up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about the Tampa game because that's the one I'm looking forward to
Mhm.
most.
Me too.
But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. We decided to break this up so you wouldn't have to listen to us forever. Um, so we'll come back with part two after the bye week and wrap the schedule up for 2020 and talk about our predictions for the playoffs, and maybe even our potential Super Bowl pick. But guys, thanks for tuning in. Like I say every time, make sure and subscribe. Make sure and like, make sure and comment, and share the heck out of it. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Go Chiefs.